The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Great crowds were traveling with Jesus, and he turned and addressed them. If anyone comes to me without hating his father and mother, wife and children and brothers and sisters, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Which of you, wishing to construct a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost, to see if there is enough for its completion? Otherwise, after laying the foundation and finding himself unable to finish the work, the onlookers would laugh at him and say, "This one began to build but did not have the resources to finish." Or what king marching into battle would not first sit down and decide whether with 10,000 troops he can successfully oppose another king advancing upon him with 20,000 troops? But if not, while he is still far away, he will send a delegation to ask for peace terms. In the same way, every one of you who does not renounce all his possessions cannot be my disciple. The Gospel of the Lord.
Very fitting readings for the saint we celebrate today, St. Ignatius of Loyola. So he was the founder of the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, more formally called. Their motto is Ad Majorem Dei Gloriam, all for the greater glory of God. So we heard that this morning from St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians. He says, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do everything for the glory of God. It's probably where Ignatius got it. But his life was about that. Like whatever you do, whatever drive you have, do it all for the greater glory of God. So Ignatius is he's a spiritual master, and I mean that his whole contribution, I'd say, to the spiritual life is that he made it a science. Like he discovered some of the logic to the spiritual life and brought it to the surface so that we could all follow it and learn from it and learn these different actions in the spiritual life to grow in our relationship with God and to listen to the good spirits. So that's a lot of what he contributed. Not only that, but I'd say that it's very significant because often in the spiritual life it's just kind of a good luck endeavor, like hope that goes well stuff. And Ignatius just drills it in. Here are some markers. Here's some things to look for. Here's what the good spirit sounds like. Here's what it doesn't sound like. Things like that. So we have a lot to learn from him, and the church has learned a lot from him. So I just want to share with you a little bit about that logic that he sees in the spiritual life. So this is it's a reading that we would read, and we did every morning as part of what's called the officer readings. And this is a little excerpt from The Life of St. Ignatius from his own words by Luis Gonzalez. So it's just a little excerpt about Ignatius, and it says, so this is, I guess, put it in context. Ignatius was convalescing. He had been injured in war, and so he was at his home or a hospital in Loyola, kind of resting up and healing up. And he liked to read. He liked to read fictional works about war and chivalry, things like that. And so he asked that some books be brought to him. They didn't have those books, and so they brought him some books, The Life of Christ and The Life of the Saints, things like that. And so he was reading them, and he was kind of noticing this different change in his heart. So here's kind of the go-to little reading on him, and said, when Ignatius reflected on worldly thoughts, he felt intense pleasure, but when he gave them up out of weariness, he felt dry and depressed. Yet when he thought of living the rigorous sort of life he knew the saints had lived, he not only experienced pleasure when he actually thought about it, But even after he dismissed these thoughts, he still experienced great joy. Yet he did not pay attention to this, nor did he appreciate it until one day, in a moment of insight, he began to marvel at the distant difference. Then he understood his experience. Thoughts of one kind left him sad, the others full of joy. And this was the first time he had applied a process of reasoning to his religious experience. Okay, there is a logic there, right? What we think about affects the way we feel, like our interior experience. So, in this kind of great fervor of worldly esteem, stuff like that, it's great. I mean, it fires them up, but it doesn't last. It's not really from the Lord. It wavers. The thoughts of, doing great things for God, excited, but they stay. And it's not so much the thoughts themselves, but that what the fruit they produce in my heart, this joy, this long-lasting joy, that's a fruit of the Spirit, which, just a reason of deduction would say from the good Spirit. He applies that to the spiritual life, and that's a very fitting example of that. And just one of many ways that he makes a science out of the spiritual life. So just a lot we can learn from him, and I want to put in our corner that the spiritual life is not a good luck endeavor, hope it goes well stuff. It's a science, it's a system, and St. Ignatius shows us that in a lot of ways, as do other saints. But when we take this time to learn about him and learn that science of the spiritual life so that we can both go deeper in our relationship with God, but then carry out his mission in our lives, as St. Ignatius did, all for the greater glory of God.